things that we come across, when we meet projects, everybody says, can you give us examples of how relevant is it for our business? Okay, that's a very common refrain that we get from everybody, right? Everybody says, okay, it's great that, okay, somebody has done a roll-up, but in my domain, in my industry, do you know of an example? So we felt that we should put together a panel because this is something very practical and very relevant for everyone. So we have now a panel coming up which is talking about use cases in Rollups and Appchains. So I'd like to call on stage Dmitry. Dmitry is the co-founder and CEO at Wirex Pay. They're setting up a Polygon CDK chain. We also have David Nichamoff, who's the CTO at Fizit, and they have an Avalanche subnet running right now. We have Ethan, who's VP Stakeholder Relations at Autheo. They have a Cosmos SDK chain running. And we have another gentleman, Rohit Jain. He's from India, right? So he doesn't know how to navigate the snowstorm. So he's stuck somewhere in the storm. So he should be here. He should be here shortly. But I'd also like to call Ravi, who's the CEO at Zeeve, to actually moderate the session. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, hi everyone. So again, as Thomas mentioned, this is always has been the highlight of all the Rollup days, the use case panel. Here we bring some of our exciting use cases that builders have been built or they are building. And it's always been an inspiration to all the builders out there. So first of all, I would like to welcome and request all the panelists to give an introduction, what they are doing in Web3, how their journey has been so far, and what motivated them to be in Web3. So starting with David.
Yeah, so David Nichamoff, CTO and co-founder of Fizit. We're in the trade finance space, so we're building, we have a L1 chain on Avalanche, as mentioned, that's run by Zeeve. What we're doing is we're building a method of getting suppliers in the energy space, get them paid faster for crude or drilling or other types of commodities that they're able to produce. And so we're very much an industry-focused team.
That's great. Dmitry.
Hi, I'm Dmitry Lazarichev, the co-founder and co-CEO of Wirex. Wirex is a payment company which we started back in 2015. So before we had a custodian option only, so where the customers can use us basically like in your banking with full access to the wallets and blockchain. In addition to that, we obviously issued them a debit card and a bank account so they can also use the assets in everyday life. And recently we launched an Appchain, and so it's what we call the next generation of the card product, whereby you don't need to make a deposit into our platform and you can operate from a non-custody wallet of yours.
Yeah, thank you. Ethan.
Hi, I'm Ethan. I work at Autheo, and our whole thing is migrating SaaS on chain. So the traditional SaaS industry is, the way we see it, very archaic, very expensive for no good reason. So we're building an open infrastructure for anyone, whether you are, a Google or a Disney, or if you're an Etsy mom, you can go on there, launch your own SaaS solution, your marketplace, and really abstracting the complexity and optimizing for simplicity and scale.
Thank you. Thanks, Ethan. So I think, so this time it's very exciting panel because we have three panelists, three very exciting use cases across three different stacks. So we have Fizit on Avalanche L1, we have Wirex on Polygon CDK, ZK Rollup, and we have Ethan on Cosmos SDK, Autheo. So starting with Dmitry, so crypto payments has been the holy grail of blockchain. And of course, it's a very exciting use case. We have been using everyone who enters into Web3, they touch upon crypto payment as the first use case. So how Wirex is making crypto payments super easy, more secure, and at the same time, I recently read a news that Wirex has entered into the US, and plus, any other news that you can share about crypto payments from Wirex?
Absolutely, happy to. Basically we all know that payments has always been like one of the major potential use case for the blockchain. The first one is obviously trading and store value, and the payment always been like another one, the second one, I guess. And so we started focusing on this since the day one in our story. And what we try to find out how we can use the digital assets in everyday life in order to make the payments. So we quickly realized that it's impossible to go to every merchant and ask them to start accepting the payments on blockchain. It's just not possible. So the alternative way that we identify is to merge the existing infrastructure on payment side with blockchain. And so we started issuing the debit cards and the bank accounts, and you can make a deposit, exchange your digital assets into fiat, and spend with the card networks or via the banking rails. So that was the first generation of the product. And the second generation that we add later is kind of similar. You still need to make a deposit, but then you don't need to exchange it or load onto the card. Everything is done on the background. So you can choose when you pay with the card whether we are debiting your ETH account, your Stablecoin account, or whatever account you prefer. So that was basically a lot of improvements in terms of the customer experience. And the third generation that we launched recently is an Appchain. It works in a different way. So you can use any wallet, and we set up your wallet with account abstraction, and you give us the permission to draw funds out of your wallet at the point of sale. So only when you pay with the card, we initiate on-chain transfer out of your wallet. Once we see it's picked up by a sequencer, we approve this transaction with Visa and MasterCard, and then we settle with them in stablecoins. So in this scheme, actually, no fiat involved whatsoever, and we see it as a massive improvement of the ecosystem and the payment use case overall. Plus, additionally, we do very similar things with the bank account. So you can still have all your funds and stable coins in a non-custody wallet. When you send outgoing sort of a payment by the bank account, again, we are taking funds, stable coins from a non-custody wallet, exchange into fiat and send by the banking rails. And if you receive a bank transfer, again, we exchange it into stable coins and settle on your wallet on chain. So it's basically very close to the state whereby everything is done in stable coins. And once the merchants start accepting the payments in stable coins and settlements from Visa and other partners, then essentially we don't need any fiat at all, and everything is done on chain and in stable coins.
No, absolutely. I think what you have mentioned makes a lot of sense, and I think this is what the next boom would be. Recently, MetaMask has launched their credit card. And I think as we see more and more usage, more and more cards being issued, and as you rightly said, as more and more traditional merchants start accepting cards and Visa and merchant, the traditional cards being backed by stable coins and other we recently saw a card being issued by Avex. We were there at one of the event by Avalanche, and they have issued a card, and yesterday MetaMask issued the card on 27th Feb. So I think these initiatives and more and more people accepting traditional credit cards and debit cards powered by or backed by stable coins, I think will start large-scale adoption of crypto assets. So Ethan, launching an L1, of course, takes a lot of initiative, building the community. So from Autheo perspective, what is your focus right now in terms of vertical, in terms of use case, how you plan to take it to the market, build the community, to serve the developers. So what is your focus right now?
So it's multifaceted. Our current focus is at healthcare. Our team has a lot of experience in healthcare. If you look at a hospital, they're probably paying over $100,000 a month for their software, and it's a lot of back and forth between the third party. If they want to change something, they have to wait, a couple days, maybe a week. The profits for the third party isn't really that great either. It's just a very archaic system. And so with us, they can import all their data. They can, we have modular solutions for front end and back end. A lot of it's, templates. It's all just right there for them to assemble. And we are not charging any kind of retainer. It's open source infrastructure. It's just transaction fees. And that is significantly cheaper than what they're already paying. So much cheaper solution, much more secure. They get to build, own, and launch and brand their own solution on chain, and they are in full control of it.
Got it. Thank you. David, you mentioned briefly about the use case. I think this is very innovative, bringing Web2 use case into Web3, using smart contracts and stablecoins to enable cash flow management in the energy space. So where do you think the usage of having a custom app chain using Avalanche L1 and smart contracts, how does technically it enables this use case?
Well, so today there are trillions of dollars that are locked up in inefficiencies in B2B payments. Those trillions of dollars are related to delays in invoicing cycles, payment cycles, and so forth, SWIFT payments, the payment rails. We can take all of that out. There's really two key pieces of technology. One is IoT, which is really not the focus here, but it's very important. Devices, meters, flow meters that we partner with out in the field to capture data on all aspects of a business that enable us to capture, okay, a drill bit on a rig out in the Gulf, turn this much and pump this much gas or whatever it is over time. So we capture how much work has been done. And then once that data, and all parties agree that that's the single source of truth, putting that data onto a blockchain where it's visible and all parties then agree that it is immutable and all the things about blockchain, allows them to see the data and allows them to move from a traditional invoicing process to paying upon execution of work. And so our overall goal is to eliminate invoicing cycles and paying providers immediately. And so blockchain provides the visibility for us for both buyer and seller to see the work that has been done, agree that that was the work that has been done, and then get paid immediately based on execution. And so it's visibility and understanding that instead of going through a traditional process where the seller will capture all the data, put it on an invoice, and then the two sides will haggle over, which types of data to believe. And so the blockchain brings the visibility to that process.
I think it's a very innovative design. So because before getting into blockchain, I was in the fintech space and especially into the digital lending space. So I understand what you're doing. So starting from solving the early payment problem, people getting paid 30 days, 60 days, solving that, but at the same time replacing the traditional factoring product, which is much more expensive. It's a good product for the lender, from the lender perspective, but from a customer standpoint, it's very expensive, solving that, and at the same time using the existing infrastructure. So not asking the buyer and supplier to invest into a new infrastructure to start utilizing smart contracts and Web3. Instead using the standard equipment and the IoT devices to track, bring transparency, and at the same time use very smartly these smart contracts to bring in efficiency, and at the same time the cash flow challenges to solve them. So I think this definitely would be a highlight and inspiration to quite a few builders out there, especially people who are trying to see how blockchain can bring efficiency to some of the traditional Web2 use cases. So super important. Now, so one of the thing that people ask, new builders, that when somebody wants to launch their own, why custom app chain or Rollup? One straightforward option is if you are building a tab, you can always build your application, you can deploy on a public chain, right? Rather than that, the second option is you can choose to launch your own app chain or Rollup. So there are various reasons to do that. One, you can have your own custom configs. That means you can control your UX UI that you want to give to your users. You control the gas config, so you can have gasless transactions. You can have data compliances, like in Rollups, you can have LEDM. So if it's an enterprise use case, you can have privacy, data compliances, regulatory compliances, etc. So there are various reasons why somebody wants to launch, So cost efficiency, and then sometimes, you just want to have larger control. So I just want to quickly ask what your motivation has been. It can be 1 or 2 points why you chose to launch or use a custom app chain Rollup or an L1 for your use case. So what was your motivation, whether it be UX UI, whether it be custom configs, whether it be lower gas fee, faster performance, or so starting from David.
So for us, we've been working on this for a while. We made a completely wrong decision to begin with. We were going to build on a private chain. So one of my co-founders actually built a blockchain about 10 years ago. And so we started with, okay, do we build our own? We said, well, then we spent several months working on a private chain, and then realized as we got more into it that really the right solution here was a Rollup. The L1 chain, because one, it provides the advantages of having a common infrastructure, so you don't have to spend your time building out blockchain technology. You can use it all, but it still gives us the level of control around privacy. So we have, we own the validators. We don't allow new validators on. It's a very much a controlled private. From a security perspective, we keep control over it. And the reason is because a lot of the information regarding data in the field is proprietary. And so the number one question that Exxon or Chevron or Shell or those companies ask is, who has access to our data? And so we have to, some of the data can be visible, other types of data we encrypt, and we make sure that if it's proprietary, we don't open it up to the public. So, for us, an L1 kind of was a mixture between privacy features, but it also had public infrastructure that enabled us to work faster.
That's great. So Dmitry, for you?
Yeah, I guess for us pretty much all the same reasons, right? So with the first one, we would like to remove basically all the gas fees for our users, so they don't need to worry about that. But obviously, we understand it's payments, and we need to make sure it's secure. So it's kind of interesting sort of a task for us to make it as decentralized as possible and at the same time as secure as possible. So we're still kind of at the very beginning of that journey, and we had very interesting conversations here at the event. For example, what would be the next step for us in terms of having a sequencer at some point shared, and then some other interesting infrastructure things that we're planning to implement in the nearest future. But yeah, I think that overall it's been a very good experience for ourselves, and a setup that we have at the moment, effectively it fits to our needs completely.
And Ethan?
Yeah, so what we're going with is we are an infrastructure as a solution. And so to be an infrastructure as a solution, we wanted to own every endpoint of our infrastructure, so that everything is pointing toward the direction that our builders and consumers need. So yeah, that was very important for us, especially with our initial focus in healthcare. We do offer a data masking solution that enables HIPAA compliance. So yeah, it's very focused on how can we make the infrastructure the best possible and open source everything.
Got it. Yeah, so I think it has been very exciting to talk to you about your project. So now one last question. So let's say we are seeing a lot of major innovations happening in this space, and narratives keep on changing, new narratives come in. We have seen RWA last year, and again this year as well. And then deep learn and AI has been super talked about, a buzzword this year. So what, according to you, is the new thing that you are going to see by the end of 25 or 26?
So I'm biased, but I think like real world value is so crucial to the growth of Web3 and also for the rest of the world. Like bringing the rest of the world on chain, I think allows us so many more opportunities that we haven't had until now. So I think lowering the gap for consumers, for builders, for companies to adopt Web3, as we've already, people keep talking about when mass adoption, I really do think that's going to be the overarching narrative of everything that gets built. How do we scale this? How do we connect things for liquidity? Everything's oriented around ease of use and ease of adoption. So I do think global adoption will become the thing.
Yeah, Dmitry?
Yeah, for me, just a couple of things I would definitely pay attention. So one is we expect a lot more adoption of stablecoin payments. Hopefully, if not end of this year, end of the next year, we can see that, for example, you can pay with stablecoins at Amazon and all other big merchants. That's one thing, and the other one is obviously AI. So maybe if you merge AI with the payments, it's also can give us a very interesting use cases in the future, because I can't imagine how it can work with a traditional, for example, bank account and a standard card, but when it comes to a non-custodial wallet, obviously there is a lot more that can be done.
David?
Yeah, for us, our customers we're B2B, and very large enterprise customers who, they're not evangelists for Web3, but they're not against it either, we're seeing. But what they do insist upon is having the necessary tooling around security that fits into their existing, accounting processes and security processes and so forth. So we've been able to find some partners who, do have the necessary tooling to help us, make sure that it has like a Web 2 look upon it, that in terms of security they're used to, but still providing the Web 3 features. And so I think a lot of, at least in B2B, for widespread adoption, I think there has to be more of a focus around infrastructure and making sure, and just business type security and usability has been mentioned here. So.
No, thank you. I think this is something which I love about this panel, because all the discussions are about practical things, beyond hype, beyond buzzword. So as you rightly said, one thing we definitely require more and more in Web3 is more adoption, more users, more transactions happening. We can continue to innovate on the tech side, continue to build more tools, more platforms, more stacks, but at the end of the day, we need more and more users. More traditional Web2 businesses start using blockchain. We need more adoption of the blockchain tools that have already been built, as Dmitry mentioned. Having stablecoin present on the Amazon marketplaces and other e-commerce or merchant stores, and as Ethan mentioned, evolution in the healthcare space. So blockchain essentially is the infrastructure tech, and I think slowly it needs to be there. So blockchain should become the backbone of the next future internet as we see. Thank you. Thanks once again for you all joining and sharing your views, your journey building in Web3, and inspiring everyone who are planning to build or in the process of building something in Web3. Thank you.